Welcome, precious hearts, to another captivating and soul-awakening episode on Enny's Diamond Stories, the place where ordinary emotions, struggles, and personalities unfold into timeless lessons of love, faith, and destiny. In the past few weeks, we've journeyed through the four temperaments that shape human behavior and relationships. We laughed with the sanguine, who fills every space with light and laughter. We stood in awe of the choleric, whose fire commands progress and leadership. We admired the phlegmatic, whose calm brings peace in chaos. And now, dear friends, we arrive at the final temperament in our enlightening series, the one often misunderstood, yet profoundly deep. The melancholic. Today, I invite you to pay rapt attention. This story is not loud, but it runs deep. It is not flamboyant, but it is unforgettable. Imagine a man who sees beauty where others see nothing. A woman whose heart feels every pain more deeply than words can express. A soul that is both an artist and a thinker, capable of turning ordinary days into poetry and sorrow into song. This, my friends, is the melancholic temperament, the masterpiece of depth and reflection. They are the thinkers, the perfectionists, the feelers of life. When they love completely. When they give their all. They are faithful, loyal, and purposeful, the ones who pour heart and soul into every detail. Yet, beneath their noble strength lies a fragile thread, the weight of overthinking, the pull of sadness, the danger of perfectionism that never feels enough. Their rich emotions can create beauty, but also pain. Their loyalty can heal a home, yet their silence can break one. The melancholic does not rush into marriage, they study it, they pray about it, they want it perfect. But once they commit, they hold on with both faith and fear. Their love runs deep, but sometimes, it drowns in its own expectations. In this story, we'll explore how a melancholic heart navigates love, family, and faith, how their depth can bless a marriage or burden it, and how God uses even their tears to paint beauty into destiny. So stay close. Watch with both your heart and your mind. Because by the end of this episode, you might see yourself, your spouse, or your child in the quiet eyes of the melancholic. And when you do, may you find not judgment, but understanding, not fear, but freedom. And before we dive into the world of depth and devotion, take a moment to subscribe to Enny's Diamond Stories. Share this episode with someone who loves deeply, feels strongly, and thinks profoundly. Because when we understand the temperaments, we don't just understand people, we learn how to love them better. The beauty and burden of depth of the melancholic temperaments. The melancholic temperament is the temperament of depth, reflection, and devotion. These are the people who see the world not as a playground for excitement, but as a canvas of meaning, a place where every detail, every emotion, and every moment must count. From childhood, the melancholic child is the one who notices what others overlook, the color of the sky after rain, the tears behind a friend's smile, the silence that speaks louder than words. Teachers remember them for their thoughtfulness, neat handwriting, and seriousness of purpose. They are not the loudest in class, but they are often the most dedicated, the ones who think before they speak and feel deeply before they act. In adulthood, they become artists, thinkers, teachers, writers, caregivers, and reformers, people who seek excellence and meaning in everything they do. Their strength lies not in speed, but in precision, not in quantity, but in quality. A melancholic soul does not just live, they analyze, reflect, and refine every part of life until it becomes something beautiful. The strength of the melancholic is their depth. The danger of the melancholic is their tendency toward discouragement. The melancholic temperament is one filled with sensitivity, thoughtfulness, and purpose. People with this personality carry an atmosphere of seriousness and sincerity wherever they go. They are loyal to a fault, committed to values, and faithful to those they love. Because they feel so deeply, they are capable of profound compassion. Their empathy allows them to comfort others with wisdom that comes from their own quiet pain. Yet, within their depth lies a hidden struggle. Melancholics can become overly critical, of themselves and of others. Their desire for perfection sometimes leaves them dissatisfied, always striving, rarely content. When disappointed, they may withdraw into silence, not out of pride, but out of wounded reflection. They can dwell on the past, replaying mistakes or regrets until joy fades beneath the weight of what if. Their mind, so gifted for insight, can also be their battlefield. In marriage, the melancholic brings devotion, sincerity, and emotional depth. Their love is not fleeting, it is thoughtful, tested, and deeply rooted. They remember anniversaries, details, and words spoken long ago. They listen carefully, love passionately, and serve quietly. But when misunderstood or unappreciated, they retreat inward, building emotional walls that are hard to break. Their partner may find it difficult to reach them when hurt turns into silence. Yet, when properly loved and encouraged, the melancholic becomes one of the most faithful and supportive partners anyone could ever have. In life, melancholics are the guardians of values and beauty. They are the ones who uphold truth when others compromise it, who pursue excellence when others settle for average. They keep families, ministries, and creative spaces grounded in meaning. Their tears often water the seeds of other people's growth. However, their gift of sensitivity must be guided by faith. Without hope, their depth can become despair. Without grace, their perfectionism can become pressure. Without joy, their reflection can become rumination. The melancholic temperament, therefore, is both a gift and a challenge, a rare gem of feeling and faith that must be balanced with encouragement, joy, and trust in God's timing. When their deep heart learns to rest in divine peace, the melancholic shines as one of the most inspiring souls in the world, a living testimony that depth, when guided by grace, produces the beauty of purpose. Let's look at the story of Lucinda and Everard. Lucinda was the kind of woman whose soul seemed woven from threads of thought and tenderness. A melancholic by temperament, she carried a quiet intensity that drew people close and then kept them guessing. Every move she made, every word she spoke, seemed measured, weighted with purpose and meaning. Her wedding to Everard was not extravagant, but breathtaking in its elegance. The decorations, chosen in muted ivory and sage, reflected her refined taste. Every petal, every note of music, every seating arrangement, Lucinda had planned it all with perfection. She wasn't just organizing a ceremony, she was crafting an experience that would live forever in memory. Everard, a passionate and visionary man, admired her depth from the beginning. While others were swept away by the world's noise, Lucinda saw beauty in small details, the way sunlight kissed the curtains, the way a verse of scripture lingered in the heart. He loved her mind, her precision, and her quiet strength. She, in turn, found peace in his energy and courage in his laughter. Together, they balanced one another, or so they thought. In the early days of marriage, their home was a masterpiece of order. Everything had its place, every routine flowed smoothly, and Everard often joked that even their dinner candles burned in perfect symmetry. But behind Lucinda's well-kept calm lay a restless perfectionism, an invisible burden she carried alone. Every little thing had to be just right. The curtains were never aligned enough. The meals, though delicious, never felt perfect. Her own reflection in the mirror seemed to demand constant improvement. When Everard made small mistakes, like forgetting to water her favorite lilies or arriving a few minutes late, Lucinda's heart would sink, not in anger, but in quiet disappointment. She loved deeply, but her mind never stopped analyzing, correcting, and refining. Everard, ever the optimist, would say, "Lucinda, it's fine. It doesn't have to be perfect." But to a melancholic heart, fine was never enough. Over time, her careful attention to detail began to weigh heavily on their love. Their home remained beautiful, but it felt increasingly heavy, like a museum of quiet expectations. Lucinda's silence was not peace, it was pressure bottled inside her own heart. She began to withdraw emotionally, convinced she was failing as a wife, as a homemaker, as a woman of faith. When Everard laughed with friends or spoke freely about his dreams, she felt both admiration and pain, admiration for his lightness, and pain that she could not feel the same. Her melancholic depth, once her greatest strength, had become a wall. One evening, after a small misunderstanding about a missed family dinner, Everard's patience thinned. He loved her dearly, but he felt suffocated by her self-criticism and constant sense of not enough. His voice broke as he said, "Lucinda, I love you, not your perfection. I married you, not a standard you can never meet." Lucinda stood still. His words, though tender, pierced deep. That night, she lay awake replaying every scene in her mind, their laughter, their silence, her endless striving. Tears slid down her cheeks as she realized how her pursuit of flawless love had nearly drained the life out of real love. The next morning, Everard woke to find her sitting by the window, sunlight painting her face in soft gold. On her lap was her journal, open to a new page. Her voice trembled as she spoke, "Everard, I've been so afraid of not being perfect that I forgot how to be grateful. I forgot how to just be us." He said nothing, only walked over and took her hand. In that silent moment, something shifted. Lucinda finally allowed herself to be human. In the weeks that followed, she began to change, not by force, but by grace. She learned to let go of what couldn't be controlled. If the curtains hung unevenly, she smiled instead of sighing. When dinner didn't look picture perfect, she laughed and prayed over it with joy. Everard, too, changed. He began to understand that her need for perfection came not from pride, but from a heart that felt everything deeply. He learned to reassure her, to remind her that love is not measured by flawlessness but by faithfulness. Their marriage slowly found a rhythm again, not one of control, but of connection. The same woman who once chased perfection began to find peace in imperfection. Lucinda would later write in her journal, "I used to think love was a poem written without mistakes. Now I know it's a song of grace, sometimes off-key, but always real." The melancholic temperament, when surrendered to love and grace, becomes a treasure. It feels deeply, loves sincerely, and strives beautifully, but it must learn, as Lucinda did, that life is not perfect, and that's what makes it worth living. The title of Zara and Hafi's story is The Weight of Thought, a Melancholic Journey. Zara, a woman born with the melancholic temperament, carried a depth of feeling that few could understand. In the towns around Kano State in the northwest geopolitical zone of Nigeria, she noticed details others overlooked, remembered long-forgotten words, and felt every joy and sorrow with extraordinary intensity. People admired her thoughtfulness, her unwavering sense of duty, and her sincere care for those around her. From childhood, Zara had a reflective nature. She pondered every decision, measured every word, and weighed every emotion. As an adult, her depth became both her strength and her challenge. She excelled in teaching, planning family events, and guiding others with insight, yet her constant reflection sometimes turned into hesitation. She wanted everything just right, and her pursuit of perfection often delayed action. Hafiz, her husband, was energetic and ambitious. He loved Zara's intelligence and her careful consideration, but he also longed for action, for movement, for decisions to be made without endless deliberation. At home, their lives were orderly, precise, and thoughtful, but Zara's need for perfection slowed progress. Decisions lingered, opportunities were postponed, and small daily responsibilities became battlegrounds between thought and execution. Their children loved Zara's depth, her listening ear, her careful guidance, her heartfelt advice, but they too noticed her hesitation. One evening, their teenage daughter, Amina, held a scholarship letter tightly in her hands. Her voice trembled as she asked, "Mama, will you help me decide, or will I miss this chance?" Those words pierced Zara's heart. Her mind raced, analyzing every possibility, every consequence, every tiny detail. For the first time, she realized her reflection had become indecision, her carefulness had become a prison for those she loved most. Hafiz watched quietly, concern etched across his face. The stillness Zara prized so dearly was now a source of tension, not peace. That night, Zara sat alone in the veranda, the letter on her lap, moonlight casting soft shadows. She whispered a prayer, acknowledging her perfectionism and hesitation. Slowly, she rose and went to her daughter's room. Sitting beside Amina, Zara said, "I've thought too long, and in my reflection, I delayed. Will you let me walk with you now, step by step?" Amina's eyes softened, and Hafiz, listening from the doorway, exhaled deeply. That moment became a turning point. Zara began to balance her natural depth with decisive action. She learned to act without perfect knowledge, to make choices with faith, and to trust her family as she trusted her reflections. It was not easy. Many times, she felt the pull of endless contemplation, the desire to withdraw into thought. But every time, the memory of Amina's trembling voice and Hafiz's patient gaze reminded her, real love and wisdom require action as much as reflection. Over time, their family flourished. Hafiz learned to value Zara's depth without being frustrated by it, while Zara learned that perfection is not always the measure of love. Their children thrived in an environment where thought met courage, reflection met action, and depth was balanced with decisiveness. Zara discovered a profound truth: a melancholic heart, when guided by faith and tempered with courage, is not just deep, it becomes a source of wisdom, love, and strength for everyone around it. The effects of the melancholic temperament in marriage, personal life, and parenting. In marriage. When a melancholic steps into marriage, the home often becomes a place of depth, reflection, and intentionality. Life with them feels thoughtful, meaningful, and carefully considered. Their careful planning and attention to detail create an atmosphere where love is deliberate, and every action carries purpose. A melancholic partner may not shower their spouse with flamboyant gestures, but their loyalty, devotion, and emotional sensitivity build a bond that is profound and lasting. Yet, beneath this reflective surface lies a hidden challenge. A melancholic's perfectionism and fear of imperfection can lead to overthinking, hesitation, or withdrawal when decisions must be made. Conflicts may fester silently, not because they don't care, but because they want to avoid mistakes or emotional pain. What begins as careful consideration can drift into overanalysis or emotional distance, where communication weakens and unspoken frustrations quietly grow. For a melancholic, marriage flourishes when their deep love is paired with intentional effort to act, communicate openly, and balance thought with timely action. In personal life. Outside of marriage, the melancholic personality is thoughtful, empathetic, and insightful. They are friends who notice details others miss, offer profound counsel, and remain loyal through thick and thin. While they may not be the most outgoing or sociable, their presence is deeply appreciated. People trust them because they bring sincerity, careful judgment, and emotional depth rather than drama or superficiality. But their strength of reflection can also become a weakness. A melancholic may dwell too long on mistakes or potential risks, hesitating to pursue new opportunities. Their perfectionism or fear of criticism may prevent them from stepping forward, leaving them frustrated by inaction. While people admire their thoughtfulness and insight, they may also wish the melancholic would act more boldly and trust in outcomes rather than overanalyzing every scenario. In parenting. As parents, melancholics create a home of reflection, empathy, and conscientious care. Their children often see them as sensitive, thoughtful, and emotionally attuned. A melancholic parent provides guidance with careful reasoning, teaches values with passion, and models integrity and faithfulness. Their children grow up appreciating depth, sincerity, and attention to moral and emotional truths. However, children also need balance. A melancholic parent's tendency to overthink or fear mistakes can lead to hesitation in discipline or decision-making. They may struggle to enforce boundaries or act swiftly in challenging situations, leaving children uncertain about limits or consequences. While the home is rich in understanding and love, children may need encouragement to take risks, face challenges, and act decisively themselves. The effects of the melancholic temperament in marriage, personal life, and parenting are not abstract ideas, they show up in daily life. They reveal the beauty of depth, devotion, and emotional insight, but also the challenges of hesitation, overanalysis, and perfectionism. Ultimately, the melancholic story is one of love and thoughtfulness that must be paired with courage and timely action, a reminder that true wisdom lies in balancing depth with movement, reflection with life. Let us examine the quiet ache of a melancholic. Picture a quiet Saturday morning in a small town in New England, USA. A melancholic father, Everett, thoughtful and deeply reflective, sits at the kitchen table with his little daughter. The child's eyes sparkle with excitement as she pleads to visit the town library, eager to explore new books. Everett smiles faintly, nodding, and whispers that maybe later they will go. The little girl, Clara, claps her hands and runs off, certain that today will be special. Hours passed. Clara keeps running to the window, looking for signs that her father is preparing. Her backpack sits by the door, neatly packed and ready. But Everett remains at the table, absorbed in planning, reflecting on schedules, or lost in thoughts about potential risks or mistakes. He doesn't intend to disappoint, his mind simply weighs every detail, hoping the right time will reveal itself. The sun drifts across the sky. Afternoon quietly slides into evening. Clara's excitement fades into disappointment. At last, she picks up her backpack and carries it back to her room. She doesn't cry loudly, she hugs it tightly, a silent ache filling her heart. That night, while tucking her into bed, Everett notices the dimmed sparkle in her eyes. Guilt whispers softly, but he reassures himself with the thought that tomorrow will be better, that tomorrow, they will surely go. Yet tomorrow comes and passes just like today. The truth is subtle but heavy. A melancholic's depth can nurture wisdom and care, but overthinking and hesitation can quietly wound those who rely on timely action. Clara grew up to be thoughtful, careful, and dependable, much like her father. She became the friend everyone trusted to listen, the one who always sought perfection and meaning. But deep within, she carried a quiet warning: don't expect life to move unless someone decides. In school and later in college, Clara avoided bold risks, fearing mistakes and disappointment. In relationships, she hesitated to fully open her heart, afraid of repeating the subtle ache of promises delayed in childhood. Outwardly, she was reflective and wise. Inwardly, she carried the sting of opportunities postponed and moments lost. Everett loved her deeply, of that Clara was sure. He had never failed to provide, never abandoned her, and always cared. Yet the melancholic ache of overthinking, hesitation, and perfectionism had left a quiet wound, the pain of waiting, of action deferred, of moments missed. One rainy evening, Clara sat with a mentor who gently asked, "Do you think your caution comes from watching your father's carefulness, his hesitations?" The words cut through her like light through mist. She saw it, the thread connecting childhood moments of waiting to adult years of overthinking and delay. Tears filled her eyes, not from bitterness, but from realization. Her father had not failed out of negligence, he had been cautious, reflective, and fearful of disruption. His love was deep, but his inaction had consequences. That night, Clara returned home. She found Everett at his usual spot, older now, his face lined with thought and years. With trembling honesty, she spoke about those Saturdays, the library trips planned but delayed, the excitement that faded into quiet disappointment, the ache of waiting for decisions that never came. Everett listened, tears forming, and finally broke his silence. "I am sorry, my child," he whispered. "I thought caution was enough. I didn't see how my hesitation hurt you." The melancholic temperament is a gift of depth, wisdom, and thoughtful care. But when hesitation, overanalysis, or perfectionism dominates, it can leave quiet, lasting wounds. Love is not only measured by care and reflection, it is also proven in timely action, courage, and presence. Lessons to learn from the life and individual with the melancholic temperament. Depth and reflection are gifts of the melancholic temperament, but they must be balanced with action. Thoughtfulness, caution, and careful planning can create homes and relationships filled with meaning, wisdom, and insight. Yet, when reflection becomes hesitation, when carefulness becomes delay, opportunities slip by unnoticed, and moments of love or guidance are missed. A melancholic can provide deep understanding and thoughtful care, but true harmony comes when their wisdom is paired with courage and timely initiative. Reflection without action risks leaving hearts waiting and needs unmet. Decisions must be made with intention. A melancholic often waits for the perfect moment or the most ideal choice, believing that patience ensures correctness. But to loved ones, prolonged hesitation can feel like absence or neglect. A child needing guidance, a spouse needing clarity, or a friend needing direction may quietly struggle while the melancholic weighs every possibility. Learning to act decisively, even when uncertainty lingers, transforms carefulness into reliability, and reflection into meaningful impact. Presence is more than just being there, it requires engagement. A melancholic can be deeply present emotionally, offering insight, empathy, and attentive listening. But families and friends thrive when that presence is active, when the thoughtful heart turns words into guidance, ideas into actions, and reflection into encouragement. Silence, even from love, can unintentionally distance others. True care combines observation with participation, thoughtfulness with purposeful movement. Boundaries and structure are essential. Melancholics dislike conflict and often avoid setting rules, preferring to maintain harmony through avoidance. Yet, love and guidance require limits. Children, spouses, and friends benefit from honest communication, fair correction, and clear expectations. Boundaries are not barriers, they are expressions of love, clarity, and protection, showing that care is stronger than mere tolerance. Action is an expression of love. A melancholic may convey affection through thoughtfulness, attention, and meticulous care. But sometimes, initiative is needed more than contemplation. A gesture, a timely word, or a decisive step can transform quiet loyalty into visible, heartfelt love. Waiting for perfection may silence love's expression, taking thoughtful action makes love tangible and impactful. The melancholic temperament is like a deep, reflective lake, rich, full of insight, and capable of sustaining life. Yet a lake can stagnate if it does not flow outward, if its depths are never shared with the world. If you are melancholic, remember, your sensitivity and thoughtfulness are gifts, but your strength lies in pairing reflection with initiative. If you love or live with a melancholic, treasure their depth, encourage their steps, and gently guide them to act boldly when needed. When the melancholic's insight and care are anchored in courage and purposeful action, relationships blossom, families thrive, and love is felt in both depth and expression. Thank you for joining Enny's Diamond Stories today. If you saw yourself, your spouse, or a loved one in this story, take it as a reminder, every temperament is a diamond, and wisdom lies in balancing reflection with action. Keep your reflection alive, your actions intentional, and your love visible, because the right balance transforms deep thought into unforgettable care. Coming up next on Enny's Diamond Stories, a powerful and enlightening episode titled Understanding the Blending of Temperaments. Have you ever wondered why some people are cheerful yet serious, strong yet gentle, calm yet passionate? In this episode, we'll explore how the four temperaments, sanguine, choleric, melancholic, and phlegmatic, combine to shape our unique personalities. You'll learn how these blends affect relationships, emotions, and daily life, and how understanding them can bring peace, balance, and better connections with others. Don't miss it. Subscribe now and join us as we uncover the mystery of personality blending, only on Enny's Diamond Stories.